In our headlines on this Wednesday, September 17th, here in South Korea, trade officials from Seoul and Washington are actively working to narrow their differences and to finalize details of their trade framework reached in late July. President Lee Jae-myung vows to create an environment where young entrepreneurs can bounce back from business failure amid a government pledge to set up a 1 trillion won start-over fund by 2030 to offer young people access to sufficient investment should they seek to restart businesses. And curtains are up today for the Busan International Film Festival, which celebrates its 30th birthday this year with a total of 241 films from 64 nations. The tug of war over trade continues between Seoul and Washington as they seek to finalize details of the framework reached in late July. Our An Sung-jin starts us off.
South Korea and the United States are thrashing out the details of their trade agreement. Trade Minister Yo Han-gu has reportedly met with U.S. Trade Representative Jameson Greer to work out the details of Korea's investment in the U.S. Yo arrived in the U.S. on Monday to discuss the detailed implementation of the trade agreement. The tariff talks come after Industry Minister Kim Tschang-Yeul returned home following back-to-back high-level talks with his counterpart, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, the previous week. At a press briefing on Tuesday, Kim stated that there is an ongoing push and pull after hitting a stalemate, and added that these back-and-forth efforts come as both sides aim to achieve a win-win outcome. Back in July, the two countries agreed that the U.S. would lower tariffs to 15%, with Korea pledging $350 billion of investment in the U.S. However, a final deal remains elusive due to disagreements over implementation. The U.S. wants control over investment locations and a 90% return after principal recovery, while Korea insists on vetting the companies involved and argues that profit-sharing terms are economically unreasonable. Following recent immigration raids on battery plants in Georgia, Seoul is also pressing for a resolution on visa issues for skilled workers. Yo is scheduled to head back to Korea on Thursday. Meanwhile, starting from Wednesday, U.S. tariffs on Japanese automobiles have been reduced from 25% to 15%. Korea has been raising concerns that this will reduce the competitiveness of Korean cars in the U.S. market. But apart from the automobile tariffs, U.S. President Trump has also hinted at potential tariffs on chips and pharmaceutical products as well. An Sung-jin, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, capital Seoul is scheduled to host the Korea-U.S. Integrated Defense Dialogue next week, come September 23rd to the 24th, that is next Tuesday and Wednesday. Acting Deputy Defense Minister for Policy Yoon Bong-hee and John No, Deputy U.S. Assistant Secretary of War for East Asia, will sit down for security talks for the first time in 4 months. On the agenda are North Korea-related concerns, the Allies' combined defense posture, transfer of wartime operational control, and possibly strategic flexibility of U.S. forces, Korea. Foreign Minister Cho Hyun is on a 2-day trip to Beijing. Speaking to members of the media earlier on this Wednesday morning prior to his departure from Gimpo International Airport, he made note of his first planned meeting with his Chinese counterpart Wang Yi under the Lee Jae-myung administration. On the agenda of the bilateral talks between the top diplomats are prospects of Chinese President Xi Jinping's presence at the APEC leaders' meeting in Gyeongju and ways to advance the two countries' strategic partnership. Cho added that discussions will also include North Korea, as its leader Kim Jong-un was recently in Beijing for China's Victory Day parade. President Lee Jae-myung has pledged to create an environment where young entrepreneurs can bounce back from business failure. Do take a listen.
청년들의 용기와 도전을 통해서 새로운 시장, 새로운 가능성, 새로운 기술들을 확보하지 않으면 우리가 세계 경쟁에서 이겨나가기 어려운 그런 시대가 됐습니다. 새로운 기회를 향해 우리가 나아갈 때 실패의 경험들이 좌절의 그 아픔이 아니고 경험의 축적으로 이렇게 될 수 있게 지원해야 되겠다는 생각이 듭니다.
The president was speaking at a panel session with startup leaders and ministers on this Wednesday, during which the Ministry of SMEs and Startups shared plans to set up a 1 trillion won start-over fund by 2030 to offer young people access to sufficient funds should they seek to restart businesses. Over at the National Assembly, relevant authorities under the Yemen administration faced lawmakers for a third day of interpellation today with a focus on the economy. Cabinet members were grilled over their strategy related to trade with Washington. Clashes also continued over the unilateral passage of contentious legislation by the ruling party, including a pro-labor bill. Also on the table was the government's planned second round of consumption coupons that will be circulated starting next week. In other news, the Trump administration has granted the green light for its first U.S. weapons aid packages for Ukraine, funded by NATO allies under a new financial arrangement. Our Choi Soo-young explains.
The U.S. will supply weapons to Ukraine paid for with funds from NATO's European members for the first time. Previous shipments were those approved by the Biden administration. On Tuesday local time, Washington and its NATO European partners announced they will launch a new procurement system worth about $1 billion called the Prioritized Ukraine Requirements List. Under this plan, Ukraine submits a list of urgently needed weapons. NATO allies cover the cost by paying the U.S. government, and the U.S. delivers the weapons from its reserves. Reuters reports the program is designed to provide as much as $10 billion worth of military support. While the exact details of the approved weapons have not been disclosed, air defense systems are believed to be included. Meanwhile, Russian President Vladimir Putin has made a rare appearance overseeing the Russia-Belarus joint military exercises. The visit comes as Moscow claims that NATO is already at war with Russia. On Tuesday, Putin visited the Melino training ground in Russia's Nizhny Novgorod region, where he observed joint military exercises with Belarus as part of the Zapad 2025 operation. He stated that the drills involved approximately 100,000 personnel. Putin addressed the troops saying that the exercises are to train the unconditional protection of sovereignty, territorial integrity, and defense against any aggression towards the Union state, referring to the alliance between Russia and Belarus. The Russian president had earlier accused NATO of being in a de facto war with his country, citing the alliance's supply of weapons, training, and political support to Ukraine. Choi Soo-young, Arirang News.
In the Middle East, Israel is reportedly engaged in fierce battle on several fronts against the Hamas in Gaza and the Houthis in Yemen. Our Woo Sang-hyeok reports.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said Tuesday that Israel's forces are operating on several fronts as the conflict expanded in both Yemen and Gaza.
Our forces are operating on several fronts. A few moments ago, our pilots attacked the port of Hodeida in Yemen. This is the main supply port of the Houthi terrorist regime. At the same time, our forces are operating in Gaza City with the goal, of course, of achieving the enemy's defeat, but at the same time also of evacuating the population.
Israeli forces struck the Yemeni port city of Hodeida, targeting what officials described as military infrastructure used by Iran-backed Houthi rebels. The Israeli military claims the port has been a hub for transferring weapons used in attacks against Israel and its allies. In response, Houthi forces activated their air defenses. This comes just a week after Israeli strikes hit the Yemeni capital, Sana'a, killing dozens of people, including journalists. Those strikes followed a Houthi drone attack on an airport in southern Israel. At the same time, Israel has launched a major ground offensive in Gaza City, already devastated by nearly 2 years of bombardment. Residents reported tank incursions in several neighborhoods, while airstrikes swept across the city overnight. Gaza health officials say at least 40 people were killed in the early hours of the assault, most of them in Gaza City. Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump warned Hamas militants that they would be in big trouble if they used hostages as human shields.
I hear Hamas is trying to use the old human shield deal, and if they do that, they're going to be in big trouble. They're going to be in big trouble.
The latest escalation underscores Israel's widening military campaign on multiple fronts, with the risk of drawing in more regional actors. Woo Sang-hyeok, Arirang News.
Back on the local front, a Seoul court has issued an arrest warrant for People Power Party lawmaker Kwon Song-dong on corruption charges. He's accused of accepting 100 million Korean won, that is over $72,000 from a Unification Church official back in 2022 in exchange for promoting the church's interests if then PPP candidate Woo Sang-hyeok won the presidency. The arrest warrant was granted amid concerns of potential evidence tampering by the 5-term opposition lawmaker. Kwon, for his part, has denounced the arrest as political oppression. Movie makers, the industry's insiders and fans from across the globe are flocking into Korea's southern port city of Busan for this year's International Film Festival, which marks its 30th edition. For more on this, I have our culture correspondent Park Kon-woo standing by live over in Busan. Kon-woo, welcome. So what's the atmosphere there like?
Evening, Sunny. I must say the atmosphere here is truly heating up as, you know, distinguished guests are about to appear on the red carpet, and those guests include renowned actors and directors from all around the world. And this place is quickly filling up with large crowds already gathering, eagerly waiting for the opening ceremony that kicks off in just 2 hours. And as I've been standing here since this morning, I've witnessed visitors flocking to this area several hours before the opening, despite the cloudy and rainy weather. Many of them didn't even hesitate to wait in long lines to buy BIF-related merchandise and even to enter first and reserve their seats.
Right, I see. Kon-woo, what are some of the special highlights planned for this year?
So as it marks the 30th edition for the Busan International Film Festival since its launch in 1996, this festival has prepared a wide variety of special programs to celebrate its milestone. And over the next 10 days, around 241 films from 64 different countries will be showcased at the festival, and that's 17 more films from the year before. Among them, South Korea's No Other Choice, which has gained global attention after winning the International Audience Award at the Toronto International Film Festival and being invited to compete in Venice, will open the festival tonight at 8 p.m. Aside from that, at this year's edition, the Busan Awards, a competition between 14 Asian movies from countries not only Korea, but Japan, China, Iran, and more, will take place for the first time in Busan's decades-long history. They will be competing in 5 different categories, including the grand prize in Best Director. Another important aim of this year's event is to reach a wider audience, meaning it plans to hold events more relevant to the visitors. One major event will be the very first sing-along premiere of K-pop Demon Hunters in Korea. And that's all I have for you now at this hour. Back to you, Sunny.
All right, Kon-woo, thank you for that report. I hope you get some time to actually enjoy the festival there for the rest of us here at Arirang. Up next, healing through painting. This appears to have been the motivation behind the artwork of a late Korean artist whose paintings are currently on display here in the capital city. Our Pyongyang files this report.
Crystal clear water drops glisten on a canvas. Deceptively simple, yet full of depth. Even the smallest drop has striking clarity, given that these are paintings. Now, a major retrospective is shedding light on the life and art of the late Kim Tschang-Yeul, the so-called water drop painter, who devoted over 50 years to this singular motif. It's more than just paint on canvas. Each water drop by Kim Tschang-Yeul is a reflection of history, trauma, and resilience. And this exhibition brings his vision full circle. Though Kim is best remembered for the water drops he painted from the early 1970s until his passing in 2021, his artistic journey stretches further back. His earliest works, marked by bold brushstrokes, embodied the scars of war. These harsh yet formative wounds became the source from which the water drops later emerged. After moving to New York, Kim endured years of inner turmoil. Dissatisfied with much of his output, he kept these works from public view. His canvases shifted toward geometric abstraction, gradually evolving into the form of a drop. In 1971, water drops appeared in his work for the very first time, and 2 pioneering pieces were unveiled in this exhibition.
The water drops, in fact, carry the meaning of mourning the dead, those lost to war.
Kim Tschang-Yeul lost 60 of his 120 middle school classmates during the Korean War, and he came to think of the drops as bullet wounds in flesh. Beyond archival works and early experiments, visitors can follow Kim's meticulous process through sketches and working notes.
Being able to see what the artist intended in each period, along with his sketches and working methods, was really insightful for me.
This retrospective is a journey through history and healing, which is crystallized in the luminous drops that defined Kim Tschang-Yeul's life's work. The exhibition runs through December 21st at the Museum of Modern and Contemporary Art in Seoul. Pyongyang, Arirang News.
And South Korean high jumper Woo Sang-hyeok won his second career silver medal on Tuesday at the World Athletics Championships in Tokyo. Woo cleared 2.34 meters to finish just behind New Zealand's Hamish Kerr, who topped the podium with 2.36 meters. Woo also secured the silver medal during the 2022 event and was seeking to become South Korea's first outdoor world champion. The 29-year-old is the first South Korean athlete to garner multiple medals at the World Outdoor Championships. Content creators, content buyers and content fans are gathered here in Seoul to promote small screen productions. Our Park Hyo-bin was there.
Movies, dramas and streaming originals. Screens all around the world are flooded with stories. NK content stands at the center. It's no longer just about making great stories, but how to connect them with the world and on which platforms. That's where Broadcast Worldwide, or BCWW, comes in.
Asia's largest broadcast video content marketing event has kicked off right here at COEX. It's not just an exhibition. The event bridges content industries at home and abroad, connecting people, ideas, and opportunities.
Marking its 25th anniversary, BCWW has drawn more than 300 companies from 20 countries, including Japan, China, and Taiwan, expanding a global network for content exchange. Overseas buyers shared what makes K-content stand out.
Well, I think the strongest point is the unique stories, because there's always something fresh, and like Korean content is understandable for global audience. I think it's the main Asian content right now in the world.
This year, France is in the spotlight as BCWW's very first country of honor, ahead of the 140th anniversary of diplomatic ties between Seoul and Paris next year. French representatives say the two countries share similar approaches to storytelling and see room for deeper partnerships.
And we hope to seize that opportunity to strengthen ties between our cultural industries, and especially between our cinema and audiovisual companies, to produce and co-create together new content that could have a huge impact in the world.
True to its slogan, Window to What's Next, BCWW is also looking at the future of media. Newer streaming formats are also introduced, which are changing how audiences find and watch programs.
With paid platforms, viewers sometimes hesitate because they have to pay to watch. But our platform is usually built into smart TVs, so anyone can access them easily and comfortably.
The event runs through this Friday, offering a glimpse into the stories shaping tomorrow's media. Park Hyo-bin, Arirang News.
This is The World Now, bringing you the latest stories from around the globe. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said the U.S. has been revoking visas of foreigners who celebrate Charlie Kirk's assassination. Rubio made the remarks on Tuesday morning local time before departing Israel, after he had wrote on his social media on Monday that visa revocations are underway for foreigners celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk. He also said visa holders who are cheering on the public assassination of the conservative activist are now under scrutiny. The comments come amid broader threats by the Trump administration to punish alleged hate speech regarding the killing of Kirk last week. Meanwhile, the person accused of killing Kirk, 22-year-old Tyler Robinson, made his first court appearance in Utah. Prosecutors confirmed they will seek the death penalty. President Donald Trump said on Tuesday he will attend a memorial service in Arizona for Kirk. Poland's new President Karol Nawrocki visited Berlin on Tuesday, meeting with German President Frank-Walter Steinmeier and Chancellor Friedrich Merz. Nawrocki's long-standing demand has been that Germany pay war reparations for the destruction inflicted during World War II, a claim Germany continues to reject, saying the issue was legally settled decades ago. While a spokesperson for Germany's chancellor said the issue of reparations was not discussed in their meeting, it was raised in talks with Germany's president, who said the matter has been legally clarified. Germany's leaders said all claims are closed under international law, citing the 1953 London Agreement and post-war treaties. American acting legend Robert Redford, best known for starring in Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid and The Sting, died at age 89 on Tuesday at his home in Utah. A legendary figure of 1970s cinema, Redford also won acclaim behind the camera, his film Ordinary People bringing him Oscars for Best Director and Best Picture in 1980. He also co-founded the Sundance Film Festival, becoming a major force in promoting independent film. Beyond his acting and directing, Redford was well known for his environmental activism and political engagement. Tributes poured in, with Leonardo DiCaprio saying, "We lost a legend today." 최지희, Arirang News.
Heavy autumn rain has been falling all over the country today. Heavy rain advisories have been issued in parts of Gangwon-do province, southern parts of Gyeonggi-do province, and Jeollabuk-do province. In addition, a strong wind advisory was issued for the west coast of Chungcheongnam-do province and the west coast of Jeollabuk-do province. There will be more than 100 millimeters of rain in southern Gyeonggi-do province and more than 80 millimeters in inland areas of Gangwon-do province, northern parts of Jeollabuk-do province, and Jeju Island. Other areas will also receive up to 40 to 70 millimeters of rain. Thursday morning will start cool at 19 to 21 degrees Celsius in most parts of the country. Highs will go up to 26 degrees in Seoul and Busan, 28 degrees in Jeju. Rain will make a return on Friday and Saturday across the country. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
Those are the headlines at this hour here in South Korea. Coming up next is our daily panel session. Do stay with us.